Hey everyone, this is Rich. Welcome back to the channel. I am in the process of remodeling my master bathroom, and I am in the planning stages of running some drain pipe for the vanity. Let's take a look at what I got here, and hopefully these tips are helpful to you as I'm planning out my plumbing project. Right now I've got the floor opened up so that I can make my cuts and make my boring of the holes. I have to go from this point, which that's the drain from the existing tub, so that was what was used for the tub, and I need to get this to connect over here where the new vanity is going to be placed. I know that that the span that I have here from that wall to this point is 8 foot. For drain pipes, you need to have 1/4 inch per foot of fall, meaning that for every linear foot that you have drain pipe that's running horizontal, it needs to drop 1/4 of an inch per foot. So I need to bore holes from here, 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 and then over there. So the rules around boring holes in joist is that you can cut holes in the joist on the outer thirds of the joist, and you have to make sure any holes that you're boring are below the outer 2 inches. So you have to go 2 inches down, and that would be the start of the hole. So the center of the hole has to be, further down so that you still have 2 inches of material at the top. So I have marked this first one because I know that I want to go 2 inches down, and then I want to go 1 1/4 because that's going to be my radius of the diameter, because I'm going to be using a 2.5 inch hole saw to bore a hole through that joist. So for the next joist, you can't just go 1/4 of an inch because this is not 1 foot. So you kind of have to play around with the numbers to see where you're going to be at 8 foot. And at 8 foot, I know I need to be down about 2 inches. I kind of figured out that if I go down every joist, if I go down 7/16 of an inch from the point that I started, I go 7/16 further down, and then another 7/16 further down, and then here I'm skipping a joist, so I got to go 14/16 down, and then another 7/16 down from there. I've made a mark in the first spot, and I need to do the next joist. So let me show you how I'm going about doing it. The last time I made a mark, my square was at this spot, so it was at 3 1/4, because I need to account for the 2 inches that I gotta leave at the top portion of the joist, and then add 1 1/4 inches for my radius of my hole. So I need to, for this one, because I know I want to drop 7/16 down, is I want to add 7/16 to this point right here. 7. So that's 7/16 down. So I want to I want to make a mark on the, and then I can make a mark on the bottom here, and that's where X marks the spot. So that's where I'm going to make my hole, because that's 7/16 down from the other point. Now on the next one, I'm going to go 7/16 down again to get to this next joist. So rather than coming out right here and potentially being really close to this box and then having issues with drilling holes right here, and then I also have a problem because the 45 is going to have to be like right inside this joist, and it's going to be tough to bore a hole that way, and I don't really want to bore such a big hole to make this 45 fit. I'd rather have my joint out in this area here or in this area so that it's easier to connect. So I think what I'm going to do is just do my bend, my 45 bend in this area, and I can make my connection here and then make another 45 right here before it goes into this hole, and then I can just have a straight line going straight to the pipe like that. It requires an offset, so I got two joints rather than just having a singular joint to the 90-degree sweep down. But it's just going to make for an easier connection point, and I think that's the way to go about it. So now that I've made all my marks where it needs to be, I need to go ahead and bore the hole, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I got a 2.5 inch hole saw, and I'm using a power drill, electric corded drill, just because I know it's got a lot more power to power through some of this. Since I'm now using this beam as the structure of it, and then it's helping this one, I can only go the maximum size hole that you can drill for this beam is a 3-inch hole, but unfortunately this is a smaller beam, so I'm going to be using the specifications for this beam rather than this one, just to be on the safe side, since this one is sistering this other one now that I need to drill a hole in this. So the maximum size diameter that you can drill in any beam is 1/3 of the depth of the beam. Since the nominal dimensions of this beam is 7 1/4, you need to take 7 1/4 divided by 3. So that is 2.4, which is just under 2.5 inch diameter hole. So I don't want to use my 2.5 inch hole saw. I have a 2 1/8, which will give me a little bit of wiggle room with the pipe, but is still within the specs of this size beams. Okay, so now I've got everything drilled out. So the next step for me to do is to go ahead and cut the pieces to length that I need, and mock it up without gluing it, just making sure that everything's going to fit properly and you have the proper lengths of pipe for each section. The thing that you need to consider when you're going across, when you're going perpendicular to joists, floor joists, is that you can't run one whole long length, because you just can't fit the pipe in through there, because there's no way to kind of finagle it in, because the pipe doesn't want to bend. So you'll have to cut individual sections and put couplers in between each one of those sections. It's obviously not ideal, but that's the way you have to do it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work from one end and work my way to the other side. Okay, back after cutting these pieces, and I'm ready to assemble them. So normally you have to cut the size of your pieces that will fit within the joist and then slide it through. I was able to do a little bit longer pieces because of the width, the length of this spot. I could put the pipes down in there and slide it across. But normally you would have to cut pieces that are 14.5 inches long or less. You kind of needed to have the vanity, which is good that I bought the vanity before I started the project, just so that I had it. But I know that there's a shelf in the vanity that the P-trap has to clear, and the bottom of that shelf is 16 inches off the floor. So I got to account for the P-trap, which is about 6 inches. So I need to be at about 22 inches off the floor. So I've made a mark where the top of the pipe needs to be. So the top of it needs to be right there. So the center needs to be right there. Now I still need to run the vent up through the attic, but I don't want it to go all the way up this cavity because I have wall sconces that are going to be going here. So I'm gonna come up and then make a 90-degree turn about 19 to 20 inches up. So I cut this piece out of some of the old piping that I had. It already had an elbow on it, so I was going to see if I could kind of finagle it in there. But right now I just want to go ahead and mock up where I need to cut the hole. So now that it's all mocked up, we can go ahead and kind of disassemble it in pieces and start reassembling it by gluing it back together. And what I'm using with ABS is an all-purpose cement. So you want to use an all-purpose cement to make sure that it actually is made for ABS pipe. There are other PVC and cements out there, different cements for PVC and CPVC. This one's all purpose and we'll use for everything. The only thing you need to keep in mind is if you are doing ABS, you don't use the primer. Typically when you buy a kit, it will come with the purple primer and it will come with the all-purpose cement. The red can is what you want to use. There's also a medium that you can use on there, and it's a little higher strength. For pipes that are up to 8 inches in diameter. This one's good for up to 6 inches in diameter, and since this is just 1.5 inch pipe, this is plenty for what we need. So we'll go ahead and start assembling it and get it all together. Okay, so to do the gluing, you want to have a small level just to be sure that you get everything set the way you want to, especially for the horizontals, to make sure that it's flowing downhill. And then you'll also want a piece of little emery cloth or something to kind of deburr any of the places on the pipe that might cause a problem for the connection, especially on the inside and the outside. On the vent pipe, it's not so critical. I mean, you should have it on everything that you do, but definitely on from the drainage point down, you're definitely going to want to make sure that the inside diameter is clear of any burrs, because you don't want anything getting hung up or potentially causing some sort of a blockage. So you just want to run it over it just to kind of get rid of any sharp edges, and so that it's smooth. I mean, you don't really want to sand it like typically like you do a copper pipe or anything like that, but you just want to make sure it's nice and smooth and that the other fitting is going to slide on there nicely. It should fit snug even without glue, but you just want to make sure that it's clean. And since you're not priming this stuff, you just want to make sure that it's clean and ready to be clean, to be glued up. So I'm just going to take a little towel and wipe it so that it's good, because I don't want any issues. Now, for this first one, it doesn't really matter where it's going to go, because you're going to twist it into place. So just glue it on, and then you want to give it a quarter of a turn to get good contact of the glue on all the surfaces, and then just hold it there for about between 10 seconds to 15 seconds. It should hold it. This pipe's not that big. When you get bigger pipe you definitely have to hold it for at least 15 to 30 to 20 to 30 seconds, because sometimes it'll just want to push itself right back off. It doesn't have a chance to set up, so you got to keep pressure on it to keep it together. We're just gonna get a little bit of glue and coat both the pipe and the fitting with a generous amount, but you don't want it puddling up, so just want to get some on here. Make sure you got it. And we'll do this other one. Put some on here. And then we just stick it in and give it a turn. And hold it for about 10 to 15 seconds. Now I know there's the rain or shine, the blue can that I use for PVC, and that stuff doesn't take any time to set up. You really have to be fast with it. I think this all-purpose cement is not as aggressive, so it's got a little bit more open time before it really gets hard to maneuver around. But it doesn't take long for these pipes. You don't have that much time to work with. Okay, so the next step, before I got to put this 45 on there, but I don't want to put the 45 on there until I know that this 90-degree sweep is facing directly upwards, so that I know that I got the 45 in place, in the right place. So I need to go ahead and connect this one, at least the first pipe. Make my life a little easier is to glue these two 45s while they're out here. That way I can make sure that they're in line with each other and one's not twisted or something like that, so I can kind of lay them flat and make sure that they're not going to rock back and forth, and that they're. So I'm going to make a mark with a magic marker and just line them up. See if I can. So maybe you see that. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I made a mark here and made a mark there, so that when I glue it together, I know that I'll want to line those two marks up again, and I'm going to do that on the back side as well. So I'll make a mark here and make a mark there. And it's hard to see the green, but you can kind of see the shininess from it when you're looking at it at the right light. As I was sliding it in, you gotta make sure that it's angled down this way, plus this one needs to be slightly on an angle, and it's definitely out of the bubble right there, so it should work just fine. And that's got plenty of fall too, plenty of fall. So we're good. It's all glued up now. It's ready to go. I just need to nail this into place, just to keep that from moving around. And I'll want to put a little bit of some spray foam in there, some fire block spray foam in between all these spots to kind of tidy that up and keep it from moving around. That'll kind of isolate it from the wood, but it's all taken care of for now. Hopefully this video was helpful to you if you're looking to, run drain pipe through a number of joists and want to see how to develop the correct amount of fall that you need over a span. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and you'll see other updates as I continue to work through this remodel and other projects. Alright everybody, thanks for joining. Talk to you soon.